Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Chris, your sneaker professor. I'm back with another discussion that's more outside of the box in regard to the sneaker industry. And this one is about, although you see to my side here, Dick's Sporting Goods, it's really rooted in a question that I was asked by one of the reporters over at the Portland Business Journal. And that question is in this article that you see to my side. You can go down to the description, click through and read the article. But the question was, what is so special about Dick's Sporting Goods that Nike keeps its account but cuts off others? So I'm framing this video, and if you clicked on it, you probably clicked on it because you were like, why does Nike keep certain accounts but get rid of other accounts? Now, there is a method to what seems like Nike's madness, and there's a lot of frustration, like with certain shoe releases that are coming up, like the Jordan 1, right? The Chicago. And people are mad that they're doing a mom and pop story in regard to that shoe and the fact that Nike has gotten rid of so many mom and pop shops. So I was asked this question and I went into this kind of long, detailed dialogue with this reporter. And the whole point was she was asking about Dick's Sporting Goods. And I said, this is what's funny. In 2017, I wrote an article. You know what? Let's go to the site. So over here to my side, like I said, you can click in the description. Let's start reading, because then I can explain a lot better. And you're going to see up here above my head across, all of these tabs are open for a particular reason. And what I want is, when you have these conversations about what Nike is doing, you have to recognize that Nike, it's $40 billion plus, heading into $50 billion. It's a company with so much power and money. They don't just randomly do things. All right. And I know right now, like the Exclusivity owner, Trent Out Loud, is upset that they pulled his account. But Trent did that to himself. And typically I would side with the smaller guy. But there's something really interesting in Dick's Sporting Goods that we have to look at. So let's get to it. That was a lot of rambling. I apologize. Let's go. So I'm looking at Qube Research, Huntington National Bank, and a sneaker release calendar. And the name of this article is Dick's Sporting Goods is having a really interesting week. And this was last week, but this is going to be kind of a timeless video. You'll be able to come back to it and watch it. So I subscribe to this newsletter, right? And it's from a trading company. And that trading company almost always nails what's taking place in the sneaker industry and the apparel industry. The report that they have informs and kind of initiates a lot of concepts that I'll present here on the site, because when I look at that report, it's always spot on. And what does that report do? That report, because it's from a trading company, it tells you whether you should buy, hold, or sell a particular stock. And if you see here for the month of July, Dick's Sporting Goods is up on the month, but you can see clearly over here where the analyst, 9 analysts say buy, 3 say buy, 12 say hold, and only 1 person says sell. Well, actually 0 says sell. You got 1 person like, but I'm not an analyst. Do not take what I'm saying here. I can't tell you what stock to buy or anything else. These are analysts, and this report that I get, it gives me this kind of insight. So it's a very good report to have. So I get this report, and in that report, the analyst stated, DKS has yet to realize any trading down by consumers, which we attribute to improved merchandise assortments and its evolving omni-channel efforts. And that quote that they sent reminded me of something that I wrote in 2017. And that article that I wrote way back then, where I discussed, I'm opening this up so you guys can see it. It was the third quarter, and Dick's was getting ready to launch a private label clothing company called Second Skin. I need to look up and see if Second Skin is still around. I don't think it is. They now have Kalia, DKS, DSG, and they have VRST as private labels. And in this article, I put a lot of really good information. So I'll put this in the link in the description below so you'll be able to click on it. But let's get back to the article. In this post, I attempted to touch on 2 points. a marketing campaign for a new private label by Dick's Sporting Goods, and I analyzed their quarterly report. In 2017, the industry was kind of reeling as Adidas looked like it had appeared to figure out Nike. And Nike had finally given a name to their direct-to-consumer strategy, and that name was the Consumer Direct Offense. Wholesale accounts with Nike were unsure if they would make the cut, as Nike was just chopping off retail partnerships. Dick's, instead of attempting to cater to the swoosh, doubled down on their company. And this is super important. And I wrote this in response to Dick's doubling down on their company. The interesting thing in this quarterly report is the use of the term omni-channel and the disclosure that growth would be limited. So when a company is getting ready to present and they're talking to their shareholders, they'll say, hey, growth is not going to be as strong. It's going to be limited as we look to increase investments in e-commerce. I'm going to do these tabs. I wish I could pop something up. I hope I can. E-commerce business, the technology in our stores, and store payroll in order to enhance the consumer experience. Meaningful investments will also be made to Dick's team sports headquarters in the development and support of our private brands. And what I wrote was, this paragraph speaks to the clear understanding DSG has about where growth and recovery can take place for the chain. It's one of the best statements on offsetting the difficult retail environment I've seen. Now, that paragraph is important that I wrote back in 2017 because Dick's was not carrying retros, Jordans, and they had no need for a sneaker release calendar. They had things like Team Jordans, the Nike Court shoe instead of a Nike Air Force. They didn't even have Air Force Ones or Blazers or anything at Dick's. Dick's had the cheapest models of Nike. They did not have the high-end stuff. So I was asked a question by this Portland Business Journal reporter, in what is so special about Dick's and that Nike keeps its account but cuts off others. Now, at the same time that question arrived, I was reading this website called The Defense World, and I saw two notable stock purchases. So Qube Research and Technologies purchased 4,053 shares of the sporting goods retailer stock, valued at approximately $405,000. Huntington National Bank firm owned 367 shares of the sporting goods retailer stock. After acquiring an additional 366 shares during the period, Huntington National Bank's holdings in Dick's Sporting Goods was worth $37,000. And I know this is not the most engaging content, but please follow along with me because there are a lot of conversations that happen in the sneaker world and it overlooks the real business that's taking place inside of the C-suite and inside of these companies. And you kind of only look at the surface of what's taking place. So in the span of like 48 hours, I got a report on DSG from a trading company. I found all of this trading activity on Dick's Sporting Goods, and you can actually see this trading activity here. And then when you come down below the report, you'll see that Lauren Hobart shares 53,000. She sold 53,000 shares. And she's the CEO. And this is what I mean. There's so much going on around Dick's Sporting Goods that if you're not paying attention to this and you're wondering, well, why is Nike cutting off these people and why are they keeping Dick's and actually giving Dick's better product, you'll be able to kind of consider a different position. So let's keep going. So in this 48 hours, I got the report from the trading company. I found all of this trading activity, and then I got a question from a journalist. So I had all of these different things that were flying at me, and I was like, man, how am I going to write this paper and give somebody this research explaining my position on what's happening? Well, here's what was funny. I discovered that Dick's Sporting Goods had a sneaker release calendar. Now, you see this picture that's over here to my side, and that sneaker release calendar looks insignificant, but it's actually an extremely important thing. And this goes back to 2017. Dick's did not carry Air Force One. You see my mouse moving around? They didn't have Blazers even though Blazer is under $100 shoe. And they definitely didn't have a launch calendar for the Air Jordan 3. They didn't get Jordan Retros. This release calendar is a detailed kind of piece of information for you to hold on to, because if you think about it, that release calendar tells you everything you need to know about why Nike said, hey, Dick's is going to be a better partner for us. So let's get to why. So Dick's has never had or been a part of sneaker culture. Nobody goes to Dick's for launch day experiences for Nike and Jordan brand. Dick's doesn't even know how to promote Nike premium products. They just call it Nike premium footwear. If you look at the middle of the page, it's just called Nike premium footwear. And that's what it is. Really, it is premium footwear. And the pricing structure, Air Jordan is a very premium shoe. It's a $200 shoe. So the sneaker release calendar is a staple on sneaker blogs. So if you go to a nicekicks.com or a hypebeast.com or a sneakernews.com, all of these websites will have sneaker release information for Nike, Jordan brand, Yeezy. They carry all of that. That's all you see on those websites. Dick's Sporting Goods has a sneaker release calendar, but we're going to look at that sneaker release calendar and we're going to get into a really nice kind of conversation about this stuff. So just stay with me. I'm getting to my point. All right. So I answered the reporter's question quickly on this phone call. I said, Dick's has been able to grow without Nike. That's a threat to the swoosh. That's an important sentence. If other companies found a way to survive without carrying a big selection of Nike products, the playbook opens up and Nike loses its power. In 2017, Dick's focused on building its private label. Private label are the clothes that a company makes themselves, right? Themselves. They decided to increase the pay for their employees. This means you're going to get a better quality of employee. And they built out their omni-channel experience. Now, the last one, that omni-channel experience, I can attest to personally, because as the parent of a track daughter, and I sponsored 2 different track programs last year, I was searching everywhere for distance, sprint, and high jump spikes. And I went all over the place, and then I was like, wait a minute, let me go to Dick's. I'm a sneaker guy, I know where to go. I went to Dick's, and the person working the floor in the sneaker section was knowledgeable about sport. Notice I didn't say knowledgeable about sneakerhead stuff. I said sport. So the person working the floor was adept at utilizing Dick's Sporting Goods omni-channel or their stock locating system to find all of the sizes that I needed and all of the options so that I didn't have to keep driving around. And then she even offered to have all of the spikes shipped to the one location for pickup. It was very efficient, extremely efficient. And that process highlighted the investment that Dick's has made into e-commerce. That is critical to understand. But what was equally as impressive was the store inside of a store. Visual merchandising for the various private labels. If you walk into a Dick's, now this is with any big box retailer. If you walk into a Nordstrom's, you're going to see the store inside of a store concept. But for Dick's, this is critical because they have lanes and funnels. Visual merchandising in the sneaker industry requires that you move the customer along in a seamless manner to the products that you want them to see. In Dick's, the visual merchandising is excellent and it's isolated. So there are various private labels, and all of the brands that they carry at Dick's, every brand has its own space and it's funneled off into, they have perpendicular layouts. There are no diagonal walking lanes inside of Dick's, and that is purposeful because it drives you directly to the sneakers, and then it drives you, perpendicular into different sections of clothing. And then you have the golf section, which is another point that I need to get to, right? So no brand inside of Dick's is elevated over another brand. If you walk into a Foot Locker, if you walk into a Hibbett Sports, if you walk into any store that relies heavily on Nike, Nike takes up all of the wall space very often. Now that's changed at Foot Locker because remember, Foot Locker was cut down in allotment. But Dick's does not give anybody more presence inside of the store. So when you think about when they only carried low-end Nike product, that low-end Nike product didn't shape how Dick's Sporting Goods did their business. Dick's amplified all of these brands they had. And now it's my opinion that Nike understood the threat of Dick's continuing to improve their store experience without reliance on premium Nike product. Did you catch that? Nike understood that Dick's Sporting Goods was not relying on premium Nike product. If Nike was like, yeah, well, we're going to remove Dick's account, that would not have affected Dick's Sporting Goods, as they had already developed a differentiated product mix, including brands they developed themselves and they produced themselves. So you think about it. Now Dick's has a sneaker release schedule. That's going to be a bonus to them. And here's the really interesting thing about that. Dick's is really a store for soccer moms, team sales, equipment sales. But now with this sneaker release, when a soccer mom brings their kid in and their kid is being inducted or initiated into sneaker culture, they're going to see retros. They're going to see premium Nike products, Air Force Ones, or team basketball, signature sneakers, things that weren't really there at Dick's before. They're going to see that. So that soccer mom will begin to look at these other products for that kid who may be becoming a sneakerhead. There's growth there. There's growth there. So think about this. At a Foot Locker, City Gear, Hibbett Sports, all of these places that cater directly to Nike, do you think that's going to grow anymore? Can you really grow the sneakerhead component of the sneaker industry any more than it's already grown? Not really. But you know what you can grow? That soccer mom and that kid that's walking into Dick's Sporting Goods. Dick's becomes a very important growth area for a company like Nike. But it may be a little bit too late for that to take place because Dick's has done such a good job of creating a stronger company. They have team sales, right? They have brands like VRST, Kalia, and DSG. They also have the best sports equipment section in retail. When you think about buying weights, where do you go? Probably to Dick's. Their omni-channel experience allows items to ship from the closest location, which means they have fast shipping. The hype around Dick's Sporting Goods and why Nike sided with them isn't hype, it's a model of efficiency. And Nike is choosing partners. And I go back to my original comment about a person like Trent, who I like Trent. Trent is a very good guy, but he's complaining about Nike taking his account when, if you were that good, you should have made Saucony jump. You should have made Carhu jump. You should have made Solomon. You should have said, you know what? Cool, take the account. And then you should have went hard as a salesperson. And you should have made, if you were creating sneaker culture in this place, why not create it and really make old school sneaker culture where it was a diverse amount of shoes that people were buying? You can make it dope enough. You can figure it out. Now, it's easier for Dick's Sporting Goods to do that because if Dick's is carrying Brooks, which elevated because of Dick's Sporting Goods, and they're carrying Hoka, those are things that soccer moms are going to buy. Soccer dads are going to come in the store and buy those. So that's much easier for Dick's than it is for a hood store that's dealing with a cash customer that is brand loyal to Nike. But Foot Locker is realizing something right now. And that is, when you walk into a Foot Locker, you're going to see the store merchandise differently than you've seen it. Since 2016, when Adidas was killing it, Adidas had the entire front of the store. Visual merchandising is critical. Now, we're going to go back one more time, and I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. And I know this is long, but think of it as a podcast, man, and you're just listening to me talking, and then you're going to be flipping back and forth and looking at the information that I'm sharing if you decide to look at the video instead of just listening to what I'm saying. So let's go to why Nike chooses stores versus other stores. One of the biggest things that Nike was dealing with for all of these years is a ridiculous amount of overlap. All right, so when you go, we looked at this article on Dick's. You guys can go and read that, of course. We see the sneaker release schedule, and real quick, check out the sneaker release schedule for Dick's versus if you go to a sneakerhead website. Look at this. They have the New Balance on their sneaker release schedule. They have a Jordan over here, and then they have a couple of blanks, and then they have Adidas 4D. But they also have Brooks. Dick's Sporting Goods, although they are getting Jordans now from Nike, they are not relying solely on that shoe, primarily because the customer probably doesn't even know they have that shoe yet. So they are hyping up the men's Bowl of Brooks collection. So Brooks is on the lunch calendar. But they also, because they are not a part of sneaker culture, they're elevating basketball shoes. You got the Cosmic, you got the PG. Nike signature basketball is being elevated. Nike likes that, even though they're also highlighting Brooks and Adidas on this list. So if we keep going down the list, you got more signature basketball. You have Adidas has a row. You even have the Jordan Delta, which no sneaker site is going to hype up. But Brooks is. Why? Because that customer that's going there will possibly buy the Delta 3. It's a better marketplace for them. They have on the schedule Dame Dollars, Dame 8, and the Georgetown of Jordan 6, and a soccer boot. And you just keep going and you realize that Dick's understands the power of a diversified product mix. Now, all of that said, and I know you guys are like, man, that's a lot. This is class, man. Like I said, I'm your sneaker professor. I'm trying to help you out, make everybody smarter. I love this stuff. Nike closing accounts. Let's go take a look at a few things here. That's the stock. Eblin's. And I'm going to find Eblin's here. Eblin's was a retail account that Nike got rid of, right? So Eblin's has about 50 stores. Eblin's lost Nike, I think, a year and a half ago. Here's what's interesting. Eblin's has opened up 6 more stores. Now, it should be noted that Eblin's is owned by a private equity firm. So that private equity firm may be ramping up and opening more stores to look better to possibly get Nike back. We don't know. It's a private company. I don't have that insight into those numbers there, but they've opened up more accounts. But Eblin's was taken away. Nike took their account away. So there's no Nike at Eblin's. Understand why. This is Connecticut. So I'm only at Connecticut right now. Foot Locker has these locations. You can't see it. It's very kind of small here. And I had it bigger for a second. I'm going to go back and go to Dick's. You're going to see along the 91 corridor, 84 inside of Connecticut, Dick's has all of these locations. Nike is amplifying Dick's. There's too much overlap. All right. So when you come over here, you got Finish Line along similar corridors where Eblin's has all of these stores over here in this section. Well, you have Finish Line in those sections over here. But back over in Connecticut, in this part, there's no Finish Lines. There's Finish Line. There's one DTLR. So we come over to, we got Finish Line over here to the side. We have Dick's Sporting Goods in the same area. You have Foot Locker, which has more locations. And I don't know why it's not showing up the way I wanted it to show up. I'm going to fix it real quick and see if I can get this to go backwards and then come back out. There we go. Bang. Now you see Foot Locker has locations distributed, and Foot Locker still has Nike, so don't get it twisted, okay? Go back. Dick's has all of these stores in this area in Connecticut. Foot Locker has all of these stores in Connecticut. We keep going backwards. Finish line is on the other side. That's not Connecticut, but you still have a lot of stores there. What you have is overlap. So when Nike was like, hey, we're going to pull your account, and there may be other stores up in Connecticut. I'm not a Connecticut person. I'm just simply using Eblin's because they lost their account. The overlap of these stores creates a situation where stores will compete. And if Nike allows for MAP to be utilized and discounts get kicked in, then all of these stores are competing against each other that are overlapping. That's not a good thing for Nike. So removing these accounts is a strategic look at the biggest locations that already carry the product. And you know it doesn't have anything to do with how a store looks, because somebody was like, well, these stores look old. That doesn't have anything to do with it. Now, I'm looking up a store in Mississippi called Looking Good. Looking Good had all of these locations, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looking Good on one of these locations spent $500,000 to renovate the entire store. They lost Nike in 2015. They got Nike back after they renovated their store in 2017 or 2018. So Nike took their account, they renovated their store, redesigned it, rebuilt it, made it look beautiful for Nike, and Nike did what? This year, Nike took their account again. But why did they take it? You go through Mississippi and you notice Hibbett Sports, who Nike has kind of raised and amplified, has locations in the same spots as Looking Good. There's an overlap. Anywhere you see an overlap, there are going to be accounts taken. Now, we know that they're going down all the way to 40 account partners. So when we go beyond, and we got Hibbett Sports here, we have Jimmy Jazz, and Jimmy Jazz was smart enough to see the writing on the wall, because Jimmy Jazz purchased another shoe store in Mississippi, and then Jimmy Jazz sold to Snipes. When you see the writing on the wall and you recognize what's happening, you pull up the chocks, you get out. I know somebody's like, what are chocks? It's what holds the airplane in place when it's parked. You put chocks in front of the wheel. This is really important stuff, man. And I hope you get what I'm saying here in regard to Nike. And I'm using Dick's and all of this information. This is a long video. I apologize. I'm sweating. I shouldn't even be sweating. But I appreciate you guys that like this kind of content, because people are saying they want to hear and see different content from the sneaker industry. Well, I'm going to give it to you from a sneaker perspective, a sneaker professor's perspective. And if you appreciate it, I appreciate you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the other one. Ask questions, man. If you have questions for me, remember, I'm a professor. It's what I do. I taught business writing. I taught literature. I taught comp. I taught marketing. Not as much as I could have, but I really need to ramp that up. But my degrees are in, MFA. But anyway, has nothing to do with nothing. Forget I even said that. Let's end this video. But if you have questions, man, please leave questions, because I will answer them. I will research it and give you an answer to the best of my ability. I'll see you guys on the next one. The articles are in the description. You can click through. Peace, peace, peace.